morning, everybody. This is Tony with Rebel Financial here for our weekly broadcast, and I'm with Tina and I'm with Scott from B'Scotti, and we're going to talk about their homegrown business, which is making biscotti. So they're both joining us here today because you both kind of got a little bit of different perspective on this, right?
Yeah.
So, with us here, we're sweet tooth, so B'Scotti, which has become more sweet, right, as it's progressed. So really, what we do and why it's interesting is, and what you said to me just piqued my interest, because we're financial planners, right? You had a good plan in place, and then you kind of transitioned into this, and now it's a fun business. So, let's talk about, one of you want to answer to start. How did you get started on this?
Well, I'm Italian, and I watched my grandmother bake all the time and cook, and so that's always been an interest of mine, cooking and baking and trying to keep up with that Italian heritage. So
without the recipes.
Without the recipes,
right.
Because being an Italian cook, she didn't really have anything written down, and so you had to kind of be with her to watch her and write things down, and it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that and whatever.
The writing was allowed, though. You could take notes. Huh?
I could take notes,
yeah, right.
Yes. But so I, like I was saying before we got started here, we both had a plan in place to retire, and we knew that was going to be when that was going to happen. So the year before that, we started playing around with this, and we first baked them for family and tried a few flavors and things, and they really were a hit, and everybody loved them, and they're like, these are not really typical biscotti. They have a lot of flavor. They're not as hard as the traditional biscotti, and so we talked about some ideas, and we thought maybe we'd start in the summer and doing a few farmers markets. So that's kind of how we got started, just kind of by accident, baking for fun, baking for the family for Christmas or whatever,
right.
And that's how it started.
And we should tell people, traditionally biscotti is not necessarily flavorful. It was meant for people to be able to travel periods, right?
That's true.
And then as we know now, also you could that's why wine was incorporated, right, to make it a little softer.
Exactly. In Italy, that's how they used to eat those. They were it's a dunker. It's a cookie that you would basically dunk in coffee or wine, and that's how it traditionally was. They, people left them out on the counter. I mean, that's basically how they were. The harder they were, the better.
Right. And I don't want to discourage people from drinking wine with your biscotti. No. It's just not as necessary.
We still have people that do that.
Right? No. Well, mine is with tea usually.
Tea, tea, coffee.
But I did have yours, in the past. I've ordered them for my wife, who loved them, and I love them. I'm a sweet tooth, but they are very good. So we're going to come over to the website later just to go over the flavors and how how easy you all make it for people to order them, and how good they taste.
Yeah, sure.
In the cooking, as we talked about, all that is still done at home.
Yes, I do it out of my home. I have a fairly large, modern kitchen, and I have a double oven, so that's basically where I do everything in that kitchen.
Did you get that double oven for this? Or
no, I had that before I got started.
You cook?
Oh yeah, I've always cooked a lot. Yeah.
Okay,
so that still works for us, and I'm able to do that pretty well. I have some good space and to work with. And
okay. Are you ever cramped with time? I mean, because obviously they're not,
I am cramped. I'm just, I'm the sole baker.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really employ anyone, and so there's a time limit. I can only bake, so many a day, and that's kind of what I do.
Are they because I thought the word biscotti somehow arrived from cooking twice.
Yes, biscotti means a twice baked cookie.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's right. So Scott, are you the deliverer then? Is that?
Well, I am the packager.
Okay.
She handles, as she said, all the baking. And when that baking is done and we let them sit and dry a little bit, especially if they have glaze or whatever on them, and then we package them up individually. And yes, sometimes I'm the deliverer if we have deliveries or we do the farmers markets together.
Well, and I know, like I said, I gave it as a gift. It was a side Christmas present.
Yes.
Excuse me, for my wife, and they were packaged nicely, so people should keep that in mind too. So, and we're going to come back to the website and Facebook. I want to make it easy for people when we do this. So,
Sure.
And we'll talk about the flavors too, because I see like pina colada is the special one now, and so it's great that you can play with that.
Yes.
Well, let me. So now you have the small business, right? What have you learned about? Is this your first small business, or had you done something like that before?
Well, I used to be in direct product sales, so I used to be with a company called Weekenders, which is I would basically sell their women's clothing. So I would go to women's homes and do parties, and people would try on the clothes, and so that's kind of my first venture, is doing that, and that's been many years ago. So I don't do that any longer. But so other than that, yes, this is really officially our first business.
Okay. But has it been pretty straightforward, or any surprising challenges that you've had?
Well, I think the one of the benefits that we're getting out of social media is being able to utilize social media. It's been, especially Facebook, it's been fantastic. And our website as well, because people can then keep track of our flavors and so on. From a challenging side, it's probably been pretty much what we thought. We're keeping it pretty simple at this point. We're a cottage food, so we're not overly regulated by the state of Ohio. That makes it a little bit easier. So it hasn't been too challenging, other than maybe keeping track of financials and so on that we haven't had to do in the past.
Which everybody has to do, right?
Right.
You know, I can't imagine, because you're at farmers markets and things like that, but if we didn't have websites, and to take us back 20 years ago, it would really be difficult for you all to get the word out, right?
It would.
I mean,
Yeah.
you go to farmers market, and that would be your crowd.
Yeah, well, we might even have to do more markets and things like that, depending on where we wanted to be to get the word out. But it's great now, because a lot of it is through word of mouth, and that's what it's turned into.
So, and I know you only have a few years of experience, but is there a busier time than others? I mean, I know, because weddings and things like that, events, conferences, and
well, holidays are definitely our busiest time, so that'll be coming up here. Last Christmas we did exceptionally well. We did tins, so the tins that we had were, for Christmas, obviously. So they had Santa on them, or whatever it was, and we could fit a dozen biscotti in those, and so we sold those. Getting those. We had even realtors in town that we know ordered those for their clients and so forth. So
it's a great, easy idea,
besides just people wanting them for their holiday, treat or whatever. So we had a lot of orders.
So was it a decorated biscotti, your name on there, tin, or were they?
No, our name was not on the tin. It was plain.
I say that because
we did have a sticker on the the inside of it, but we have our little B'Scotti sticker.
The eggnog I get is from a family farm. I'm forgetting the name of it. Shame on me, but they have a different jar every year.
Oh.
So I get at least one to remind me, So this year will be the 2019 one.
Cool.
So anyway, okay, and before we get into the website and stuff, where do you hope this goes? I mean, obviously it'd be awesome. Is that what you want? Maybe someday you just keep going nuts and somebody...
I think we both would like it to evolve into, the point where maybe we wouldn't have to do as many markets and things, because it is, it's hard work to do a market. You've got to lug all your tent and your tables and everything there. So I think what we'd like for it to become is more, here's B'Scotti, and we'd like to order some, or we're having a wedding or a family event, and we'd like to get, multiple B'Scotti or whatever, and I think that's where we want it to be.
Like she said, maybe more things that we can plan for, like a wedding, so you can ahead of time how many you need, as opposed to going to markets and you aren't sure what flavors
The
really
markets are
good.
great because I'm coming up with new flavors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great test market.
Mhm.
So I provide the samples
Yeah.
for people to try, and they give us feedback.
Right.
You know, they say whether they like it or whether, you know, it needs more flavor or it needs less of this or more of this, and so we like getting the feedback.
Have you made a mistake in a flavor or something that was
Oh
not?
yes, I've had flavors where I'll probably never bring them back out again
Okay.
because
It's the worst one.
they didn't sell well, or
Right.
you know, I was explaining earlier about my pumpkin. I'm trying to get a good pumpkin flavor, and I just last year it wasn't to me it wasn't great.
Right,
You know, so
right.
I'm always trying to.
Are you getting
You
there?
know,
We're going to see a pumpkin one this
I
year?
don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Well, you got a few weeks at
It's
least,
really
right,
hard
so-
to get something like a pumpkin in a cookie like a biscotti.
Right.
It's just difficult. It's
Right.
got to be the right texture, and
It does
so
seem like
it's hard.
pumpkin flavor has become really the last few years everything. I know
Well, it's-
Starbucks is already out with their pumpkin
Oh, I know, and
latte,
it's
but-
basically the spices that go into it, right? It's not the pumpkin itself.
Right.
Pumpkin is just a squash. It's a vegetable,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have much flavor on its own.
No.
It's really just the spices that go with
make
it.
it.
So you got to get that right spice flavor.
No. How so you have capacity at home for a while, right? I mean, or you're not. I mean, do you see yourself having to do something different anytime in the next couple of years, or?
I think sales would drive that as opposed to us making the decision first. Because
Right.
it's a large investment to go to a
Mhm.
commercial kitchen.
Right.
So I think it would be the chicken egg thing where maybe in this case we would have to have the sales first and really kind of
And
reach
see, yeah.
capacity at home and then make that call as to
Right.
whether we wanted to go that way or not. But for right now, I think we're able to handle everything at home.
You had said something earlier. I'm forgetting. I think it was Scott, but I don't think people realize the effort when you're setting a table up at the farmers markets. What goes into it? We do trade shows, and I've done farmers market in a prior life
Right.
for things, and you know that lugging is the worst part of it. You know, you don't. I don't mind. I love talking to people too, and being
Mhm,
there and meeting
mhm.
with people
Yes.
and talking about our product, but. People don't realize that there's an effort into getting it there, into taking it
There
back,
is.
you know,
Yeah.
and those little businesses, that's all their livelihood so often,
It
so.
is.
I live
Yes.
in Upper Arlington, so we'll do that every Labor Day, right?
Oh.
There's something.
Okay.
um,
Well, that's
so-
coming up.
It is, it must be. I mean, normally we're out of town Labor Day, but
Okay.
we're in town this week, so I'll have to even take a look at that, so. But anyway, well, we have a little time, so I would like to get to the website so we can show
Oh,
people
sure.
this, okay?
Sure.
So let me start, and we'll come to Facebook too, but the address is b-scotti.com. Is the name, you just spelled it this way to have fun, right? I mean, that's not your Scott, right?
No.
It's not, okay. It's, obviously, it's,
Well, yeah. I mean, his name is Scott, and our last name is Banaski with a B. So
Mhm.
we just kind of came up with a clever
yeah.
name for
But it's
the
awesome.
company.
I mean,
so
it's
and
an
people
awesome.
love it.
Yeah, yeah.
But my name is obviously not Italian, so.
Right, but ask you. I saw that. So, your website, I think, is it's great because you can get easily where you want to go, and it's really pretty straightforward. So you can see up here, you're starting with what's coming up, and they'll be in Canal Winchester on the 8th. So
Correct.
tomorrow's the 1st, so that's a Saturday after this one.
Yes.
And is there always a flavor of the month then, I take it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool, okay.
We started doing that when this
I think it was
just this year, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
probably in
So it's always
spring.
something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then simply about us, our biscottis, and then how to order. So
Mhm.
Yes.
we've covered the about us, but there's a nice picture of you all. Is that your home?
That is
where
my
you're-
home,
the,
yes.
the office
That's
and,
my
and
kitchen.
everything?
That's my
So,
kitchen.
But to look at the biscotti flavors,
Mm-hmm.
you just click on that and you could see, you know, all the ones for August. I guess you'll be updating this soon, transitioning
We
into
will
September,
soon,
huh?
yes.
Tell me, if just click one of those pictures and it should bring up a.
Let me go to my favorite.
Okay.
What would be my favorite one? Now, you know what? I saw the butter pecan. I haven't
Okay.
had that one, so let's try this one.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now you can see it a little bit bigger and
Yeah.
you can scroll left and right
Okay.
through all the
Yeah.
flavors that way, but it gives you
Okay.
a little bit better picture
got
of
you.
things with the description.
Chocolate chip, cookies and cream. So that's great. And some of these, you know, it's been a little bit since I've ordered these. So do some of the flavor of the months then become permanent? Is that if they're successful enough, or is that that's just how it transitions?
Now the pina colada, for example, that's more of a we think that's more of a summery flavor. So we'll probably retire that for a little while. Probably bring it back out next summer because it was very popular.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Now, one of the what I was talking about is perfecting the flavors a little bit. Take the butter pecan, for example. The butter pecan is new this year. I was making butter pecan all along. However, I wasn't satisfied with it. It wasn't coming the way I like it to be. And so this is a new version of my butter pecan.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I do sometimes with some of them. If they're not coming out well, whatever, not selling well enough, I'll upgrade it a little bit.
Okay. So do you know, I have a sweet tooth, and I'm really a bad judge because I'm so indiscriminate about anything that has any sugar in it. You know, I'll like it. So, and it's good to have people, I think, that are more discriminate, and yet they have different tastes, so you don't always know whether it really is good or not.
That Buckeye flavor, I mean, people come up and usually we'll sell out of this at every market.
Yeah.
And customers will come up and say, "You have no Buckeye." Sorry, we just sold out.
Right.
You know, so certain people like certain flavors,
Right.
And they'll just want that flavor.
Yeah.
So it's really funny.
That's awesome. So the pina colada, we're almost done. So you got to get your orders
done.
in for
That's
the month
it.
or so. Do we know what's coming for September? Flavor of the month?
Yes, it will be apple.
Okay.
Apple spice.
That's a good one for the fall.
Yeah, so that will be up there. I think he'll update that.
We normally update the website on the 1st of every month.
On the 1st, so
we'll
tomorrow.
announce our new flavor of the month.
Yeah.
And then, as she said, we also seasonally retire a couple of flavors as we add a couple of flavors.
Okay. So this is a good way to just simply place your order right here. It's nice and easy.
Yes.
So, but they're very accessible too. So you'll see a phone number. We'll be putting this up on the screen for people to see. So lastly, in a couple minutes here, another great way to track is Facebook, right? I mean, because you post periodically with the new flavors and things like that. So this is a good way for people to keep up with them.
Now, a little bit about the flavor of the month that I wanted to add.
Okay.
Usually they are $1 a piece. So the flavor of the month, you can get a dozen of that flavor of the month for $10.
Okay.
So that's the
So
special.
whenever you do that?
Yeah.
So flavor of the month is
whatever that flavor of the month is, you can get a dozen for $10.
Okay. Excellent.
And we deliver in Central
And we
Ohio
deliver
for free.
That's right. That's right. That's the big one. That's how, so we initially, Matt Scott, was a chamber outing, and then at Christmas time you brought those over for me. So
we also we're excited too because we also have new packaging. We've been using a plastic clear flat container, and we decided to go to handled craft paper bags.
Okay.
And so that helps a little bit with the planet and being environmentally sound.
Right.
So we're excited about that because we have 2 different sizes, so they're great, and people can carry them around much easier than the flat container.
No, that's great. But I also like the tin ideas at the holiday.
The tin, is a very good idea.
That would be cool. So, well, listen, thank you. This has been nice. So go to their Facebook page, and to stay informed of what they're doing, go there and like it, and so you'll get the information that you need from them on a regular basis. So, and next week we're gonna stick with our sweet tooth theme. Linda Kick is coming in from our cupcakery in Dublin. So join us then. Tina, Scott, thank you, and best of luck to you as you continue growing
Thank you very
this.
much.
Thanks, and have a great week. We'll see you next week.